Welcome back to 20 Sides Off the Rails, and today we're making your very first cleric. So you want to make your very first cleric, and let's be honest, it is the best class in the game. If you want to heal, you've got heals. If you want to do damage, you've got damage. If you want to buff your party, there are a lot of spells to do that. There are so many different options for where you want to go with your cleric, and it's the best. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to talk a little bit about the class and kind of where you should put your ability scores and some different spell options and things like that. Then we're going to look at what origins in D&D 2024 fit best for the cleric. We're going to look a little bit deeper at those ability scores and tell you which ones to boost up. And last but not least, we'll help you fill in your details of your character. So let's get going. Number one, let's look at the overall base class. All right, it is overview time of the cleric, the divine warrior, if you will. Close your eyes and I want you to think about what you want your cleric to be. Do you see your cleric standing in the back, healing and buffing the party? Do you see your cleric up front in melee with a sword and a shield or a warhammer? That will really kind of take you down which path you want to go with your cleric and how you want to play them. So if we look at the old 2024 rule book here, the old player's handbook from 2024, we will see that the primary stat for a cleric is wisdom. And yes, that's 100% true. You need wisdom. It's vitally, vitally important. We'll talk about that in a little bit when we talk about ability scores. But really, you want to think wisdom because that's what all of your spells will key off of. So think about that as you go through. The second thing is you get a D8. So you're about average hit points. You're not as low as a wizard or a sorcerer, but you're not as strong as a fighter or a barbarian. But the good thing about clerics is they have a lot of buffing abilities that will help your armor class, that you'll be able to heal yourself and others. And so, yes, you only have 8 hit points, but you can kind of mitigate that a little bit with some of those buffing and healing spells. Saving throw proficiencies, wisdom, and charisma, it is what it is. Not a big deal. Skill proficiencies, you get 2 out of history, insight, medicine, persuasion, or religion. Always, 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 for every skill, think about your character. Where did they come from? What were they good at? Why were they good at it? Answer all of those questions about your character. Try not to metagame too much. We're going to try for those types of things to just do what your character would be good at. So if they were an acolyte maybe in their past, then they're probably good at religion. They just know more about religion. Maybe they were a zealot of sorts and they were good at persuading people to join their cause. Well, maybe you want the persuasion skill. So think about what your cleric was and what they were good at. Pick the skills that match that. It's not going to make or break the game, I promise. Weapon proficiencies, simple weapons. And we'll talk in a little bit about how you can get martial weapons, but right now you just get simple weapons. That's not great. Let's be honest, that's not great. But if you're going to only cast spells, plenty. You don't need more than that. Armor training, you get light and medium armor. That's good. And you have access to shields. That's even better because you can put your holy symbol on your shield and boom, you got a nice spell casting mechanism to use instead of having to use all the other different types of things. So you've already got those no matter what. And then starting equipment, of course you got your chain shirt. Of course you got the mace, which is like the quintessential weapon for a cleric. Although the warhammer is really cool too if you want to do a little more damage. So you get those items out of the gate. Now, one important thing you get is to pick between your divine order. You can either be a protector or you can pick thaumaturge. A protector is you get heavy armor. You get martial weapons. Yes, that's what we want if we want to wade into battle. If you want to be up front, you gotta be the protector. You can wear plate armor. You can have a giant shield. You can have a super beautiful Thor-like hammer and do all the cool spells. That's what I'm talking about. When I think of a cleric, that's what I think of. Now, if you would not like that, and you want to stay in the back, and you're more of a healer, you want to buff the party a ton, you want to cast a ton and a ton and a ton of spells, then you probably want to stick to Thaumaturge. You could still be a protector, but Thaumaturge, you get an extra cantrip, which is good. I don't know how great that's going to be because it's out of the cleric spell list. And then you get to add your wisdom modifier to arcana or religion checks. That's okay if that comes up a lot in your game, but that's not great. Protector, that's probably what you want. Now, you're going to need to increase your strength, and we'll talk about that more in your ability scores, to really be able to use that heavy armor eventually. But that will really help your armor class. It will really help you if you ever get stuck in melee and can't cast a ton of spells. So Protector, that's where we're going to go when we're creating our first cleric, right? Right. That's a perfect idea. Now, the other thing you get, and it's the most important thing for a cleric, is spellcasting. You said it with me, didn't you? I think you did. You may have not said it with me, but I feel like you said it with me. You get spellcasting. You get how many cantrips out of the gate? 3. You get 3. One of those needs to be a damaging cantrip. I promise you, that will allow you, hear me out, to have a ranged attack. You don't need to up your dexterity. You don't need to carry javelins with you. You can use a ranged spell. Now, if you go the Thaumaturge route and you want to stand in the back and cast spells, at least one of them, again, needs to be a damaging spell. You have this quintessential Sacred Flame, you have Word of Radiance, and you have Toll the Dead. Pick the one that really fits your cleric the best. If you're going for like a dark, moody, necromancery type cleric, maybe you want Toll the Dead. If you are a zealot who is on fire for their god, Sacred Flame probably works the best. If, you're more of a thoughtful cleric, Word of Radiance may work better. Pick one that works best for you, but you gotta have at least one damaging cantrip. The others can be anything you want. They could be guidance. Maybe you're a human and you can't see anything. You want light. Maybe you're thinking about tearing a bunch of stuff up and you need mending. There are just a ton of different options for you to pick from with the cleric cantrips. And then, which spells do you get access to? All of them. Every single one of them. That's right. You have them all. Every single first level spell out of the gate you have access to. You can prepare 4. You can cast a 2. That's kind of confusing, right? It's fine. Every night when you go down for a little nappy nap, for a little sleepy sleep, what you get to do is pick 4 spells. That's simple, right? You pick 4 spells. They can be any of the first level spells. I would encourage you to always have at least one healing spell picked. And the 2 most common ones are Cure Wounds and Healing Word. They've been buffed. That's right. In the old 2024 rules, they've been double buffed. Doubled. The healing is doubled now. That is incredible. If you're going to be wading into combat and you think you can get and touch people, Cure Wounds is better because it's going to be 2d8 of healing. If you're more of a, let me stand in the back and I can heal from a distance, Healing Word. It's 2d4, but you can do it from a distance. That's also good. So keep in mind those 2 things when you are preparing your first level spells every night. So you want at least one healing spell. You can do more than one. You can do them both. Who knows? Pick. All right. Then you probably want at least one type of buffing spell. So maybe you get a sanctuary, a shield of faith, something like that to really buff the party. You could also pick a spell that is neither, like command. You could tell a guard to drop his weapon and command him to drop his weapon. He may succeed on a saving throw, but that's an option too. And then of course, you want something that's going to do some damage. And my favorite, Guiding Bolt. Guiding Bolt is so good. I encourage you, look at that one. It does a lot of damage, and there's a cool little rider effect that goes along with it. And then if you hate them, guess what? When you go nighty-night, night-night again, you can change them out. Perfect. So, Cleric, think about wisdom. Think about what you want to do, melee or ranged, and you pick your divine order, protector or thaumaturge, and then the most important thing are those sweet, sweet spells. 3 cantrips, make sure one of them is a damaging offensive cantrip, and you got 4 first-level spells to pick from every single night that you're going to do what with. You're going to pick at least 1 healing one and 1 offensive one, and then you get 2 more miscellaneous ones that you're going to pick from. That is the overview of the Cleric. Now, let's look at the best origin to pick from. All right, let's talk about your origin. You've got to pick where your character's from, but really what your character was when they came from where they came from. Here are a couple options. Hear me out. Let's get the old notebook out right here. Guess what? Wayfarer, Sage, Acolyte, Guard. Pick one of those 4. Why do we pick one of those 4? Here's why. Because every single origin in D&D 2024 rules is tied to ability scores. And we talked earlier about your ability score that was most important was Wisdom. That is correct. Wisdom is our most important score. Each of those, the Wayfarer, Sage, Acolyte, Soldier, allows you to increase your wisdom. So you determine, what do you think your cleric was before they became a cleric? Or what were they when they were becoming a cleric for the first time? Here's what I'm doing. I'm going to say they were a guard. That's right. The old guard cleric. Well, what were they a guard of? Maybe a church. What a concept, right? Super simple. But that allows you to increase your strength a little bit. It allows you to increase your wisdom a little bit, which will allow you to wade into combat if you're the protector cleric. And then you get some other cool stuff with it, right? Let's flip the old page here to the soldier. What else do you get? The savage attacker feat. Now, let's be honest. As a cleric, as you get higher level, you're a full-on caster. When you get those sweet 3rd and 4th and 5th level spells, you're probably not going to be attacking in melee a ton. So maybe you say, soldier may not be the best option. So we sneak on back here to the Acolyte, and you get the Magic Initiate feat, which is okay. I mean, it's okay. You already get a lot of the cleric stuff, so why do you want to double up on the cleric stuff? So maybe not that one, but also maybe that one if that's what your cleric was at one point. He grew up in the church, or he gave his life over to the church, or he was an altar boy. Probably not that though, right? Probably not that. That's boring. That's boring. Or maybe he worked at a library and he became a sage. He was a historian, if you will. That also gives you Magic Initiate, but that allows you to pick a few wizard spells. Ooh, that may be better. So pick which one you think fits. When you closed your eyes earlier, pick which one you think fits best for your cleric's background. Again, none of these will make or break your character. It's not like you're going to make a decision now that you're going to completely regret later, unless you pick a background that has nothing to do with wisdom. Because remember, everything that you're going to do spell-wise is going to be keyed off of wisdom. So 4 that are good, again, Wayfarer, Sage, Soldier, Acolyte. Pick one of those 4, increase your wisdom by at least 2, get that wisdom up to 16 to start off with, and I promise you, you will be happy no matter what feat that you get. We're not min-maxing here. An extra 1 damage in D&D doesn't make or break the game. So that's not important. What's important is you create the character that's in your mind, and one of those 4 will probably do it. So we got our origin. We went back. We already had our class. Now let's talk a little more specifically about the most important ability scores for a cleric. So what are the most important ability scores? Well, clearly, wisdom is the most important now. You got to get it to 16 to start off with. Now, if you're rolling, I can't help you there. It just is going to land on what it lands on. If you can point by, get it to at least 14 or 15, and then your background can increase it by 1 or 2. That will get it to 16. The next most important ability score, I've got 2 for you to pick from. Constitution is uber important later in the game because it ups your hit points, and concentration checks. Those are super important for clerics as you cast spells that require concentration and you are hit, then you have to make a concentration check so your spell doesn't fizzle. We don't want our spells to fizzle, especially when we're casting 4th level and 5th level and 6th level spells, because they feel like a waste, and we don't want that to happen. So, number 1, wisdom. Number 2, constitution. Or number 2, strength. That's right. If you want to create like a Thor-like character, probably your best bet is to up your strength. Now, you could get your strength to 16 or your constitution to 16, just like we did our wisdom. You want to create it and have it either a 14 or a 15, and then have your background or your origin increase that up to get to a 16, and then the other one, whichever one it is, up to a 14. So strength or constitution, whichever one is more important to you. If you're going to go that Thaumaturge route where you're standing in the back, well, strength isn't that important. As long as you can use medium armor, then you're fine. If you want to go the protector route, you need to up your strength, and make sure you look in the old adventurer's gear section to see what strength number is required, what ability score number is required to be able to even wear some of the heavy armor. Because, you got to be kind of strong to be walking around in plate mail all the time. Like, plate armor is probably not light. I mean, I don't own plate armor, but I'm just guessing you're wearing a bunch of metal. That's heavy, and you're going to want to up your strength. So look at that adventuring gear, because you don't want to strength at like 9 and then think you're going to wear heavy armor, because you can't. And that's just not fun. So double check that. But that's only important if you're going to be wading into melee. And if you don't want to do that, then you don't really need that. So you can drop strength and maybe increase your charisma, or increase your intelligence, or increase your dexterity. There are other options. So wisdom number 1, constitution's gotta be number 2, unless you're wading into combat and you want your strength to just hit just a little bit harder, just a wee little bit harder. You can do that as well. Those are the ability scores that I think are the most important for a cleric. Lastly, let's fill in a few important clerical details. Filling in the details for a Dungeons & Dragons character is like, this is my favorite part. Now, whether you're using D&D Beyond or you're filling out your own character sheet, like, this is when you're really learning your character. This is when you're really taking time to sit down and handwrite it. If you're clicking through D&D Beyond, try to slow yourself down and actually read through everything, because that will help you out a ton. Think about, because this is your first cleric ever, what first level spell do you want to be your go-to first level spell? Maybe put a little star beside it. Try to memorize what it does, so when it's your turn, you don't have to even read it. You just know guiding bolt's an attack roll that does 3d8 of damage, and if you hit, the next attack gets advantage on it. I don't even know if that's right, but I was confident when I said it. And then your feat. What does your feat do? Is it Savage Attacker? Because you picked the Soldier origin? Well, what exactly does that do? Is it the Magic Initiate feat, but you got some wizard spells? What do those wizard spells do? Star, asterisk, the most important things that you think you need on your character sheet to memorize. And that way, when it comes up to your turn, you're in really, really good shape, because on this character sheet I'm looking at, it talks about your ability scores. Well, we talked about those things. It talks about weapons and damage. Well, we kind of talked about those things. It talks about your class features. We definitely talked about those things. It talks about your species traits and your feats. And we talked about those things. And it talks about your cantrips. And we talked about those things. We talked about all the things that are on this sheet. Fill in those details. Learn your character. Decide who your character is, and you will have the best cleric there ever was, I promise, except for the cleric I created when I was young, because I still remember him. His name was Sir Thomas. I know that's a bad name, but you know, maybe it's not if you're Sir Thomas. Sir Thomas was awesome, and I was probably like 9 years old. Hey, thank you so much for joining us. Make sure you subscribe wherever you listen to your podcast to 20 Sides. That's right. If you listen on Spotify, do you listen on Apple? Wherever you listen, maybe it's right here on YouTube. Check it out, and you can see a cleric being played and also a rogue being played, and multiple times actually. And so maybe you can learn some things, or maybe you can learn some things definitely not to do with a cleric or a rogue. And well, we'll talk about the rogue next time. But check out all our videos. Subscribe, like, comment, do all those things. Thank you so much again for joining us on this 20 Sides Off the Rails, and we'll see you next time.